This podcast takes a lot of koiches and nefesh and time. You can very much help us continue doing this work by clicking by the show notes on support the show. There's a link, then there is an option to just click support the show. It will very much help us continue doing this work. The Frierdiker Rebbe related in Afarengen. The Chassid HaMefursam Reb Chanoch Hendel Kugel Alav Shalom was born in a small village close to the shtetl Pleshnitz. Despite the fact that most of the people of the village were simple Yidden who did not know much Torah, but they were all filled with Chassidish Echayas. Most of them were raised by parents and teachers, which were Chassidim, and they had a Chassidish Hergesh. Besides for that, the Chassidim in the city of Pleshnitz, which was the nearby city, had their effect also on the villages around, and that's how Reb Hendel grew up in a good Chassidish atmosphere. And he got to know in his childhood many Chassidim who were from the Chassidim of the Alter Rebbe. And these Chassidish characters had much hashpah on his Chanoch and on his adracha. The Frierdiker Rebbe continues, for 10 years, Reb Hendel prepared himself for his first trip to the Rebbe Tzemach Tzedek. During those 10 years, he managed to learn the Sfarim Shari Tshuva for Rabbeinu Yoino, Sefer Charedim, Reishis Chachma, and Pekeach Ivrim. Besides for that, he learned tens of times Higeras HaTshuva from the Alter Rebbe and a few chapters in Derech Chaim from the Mittel Rebbe. All of that he did in order to remove for himself the bad midos and to get rid of the physical hergelim, the physical things that he's used to. Only after that, with the agreement of the Ziknei Chassidim, he traveled for the first time to Lubavitch. When Reb Hendel related that in a Farbrengen many years later with the young Chassidim, so he added, just like a Metzora is not allowed to enter the Beis HaMikdash before he is healed from his tzaras, so too a younger man is not allowed to go to Lubavitch before he is healed from his disgusting midos. When Frierdiker Rebbe related all of that, he ended off by saying, listen what an older Chassid relates how he became a Chassid. For 10 years a younger man toils to have midos toives, and for those 10 years he does not travel to the Rebbe to Lubavitch because he is embarrassed to show himself and to show his spiritual mahus in front of the Rebbe. This is what we call a good hachana to become a chassid. The Frierdiker Rebbe writes in a letter that Reb Hendel came to Lubavitch for the first time on Thursday, Hey Elul Tafresh Gimel. As it was the minhag by the Ziknei Chassidim, he considered the day that he came to Lubavitch as his birthday. During that period of time, the Tzemach Tzedek was actually in Peterburg, and he was joining the Asifas Harabonim that was there then in Peterburg. Only on Tuesday, Yud Elul, the Tzemach Tzedek returned to Lubavitch, and that's when Reb Hendel saw the Hedike face of the Rebbe for the first time. Since he was in such tremendous simcha from seeing the Rebbe's face, he did not feel like eating at all. And from Wednesday until Friday, he fasted. And Reb Hendel related to the Frierdiker Rebbe, I was sitting and fasting, but believe me that I did not feel anything. The day that we heard that the Rebbe will come, I thought to myself that in such a day the Rebbe will come, sepasnish, it's not appropriate to eat. And when we saw the wagon of the Rebbe and the whole delegation behind him, I was overwhelmed. After the Rebbe went into his home, we danced on the streets, and for the next 3 days, were sasin v'simcha, day and night, and it felt like just like a few hours. On Shabbos was a seuda in the Chatzar, and the Rebbe related a few stories. Afterwards, the Rebbe motioned that they should sing, and the sons of the Rebbe started to sing, and all the Chassidim joined them. This was the first time in my life that I had such a hirut tshuva. The Frierdiker Rebbe continues in that letter. Reb Hendel said that from the day that I came to Lubavitch until the first day of Slichas, we did not say Tachnun. And it was fulfilled by me what it says, Ubayoyim Ashmini Imel, meaning that I had my bris on the 8th day. Because the birthday is when I came to Lubavitch for the first time. And on the 8th day, from when I came to Lubavitch, on Yud Gimel Elul, I entered for the first time to Yechidus by the Rebbe. And this was a known thing to all the Chassidim, that on the first Yechidus is when the Rebbe removes the Arla. Whatever will be. But the Arla Salev we got rid of right away. At a different Farbrengen the Frierdiker Rebbe related, the Chassid Reb Chanoch Hendel was famous as a big oived, and he did everything with his Soyrudus Alev and with the whole heart. all the different seasons of the year, his heart would awake with the feeling that is connected to that period of time. On Pesach, his heart was completely in the inyanim of Pesach, and he would be busy with the avodah of dikas chometz with the whole heart. By baking the shmura matzah with the whole heart and saying the Haggadah with the whole heart. On Shavuos, he would read the Tikkun with the whole heart. And so too when it came to Kinois and Slichos, that he said with his whole entire heart. The title Good Heart, Leiv Toiv, does not actually reflect the good heart of Reb Chanoch Hendel. And the title Baal Midos Toivos doesn't actually really reflect Reb Hendel's good midos. He was much more than that. His good heart and his midos Toivos were a result of a tremendous avodah in Yegiyah. And all of that out of Kabbalah's oil, and not as a result of Havana v'Hasaga. The Yisraelus of his midos was tremendous, much more than what could come from Havana v'Hasaga. Because even in the later years of his life, after 40 years of spending time in Lubavitch with short breaks, he wasn't the biggest farsteyer, he wasn't the biggest knowledgeable person in Torah Chassidus. But everything that he did know in his mind went straight to his heart. In Inyane Avodah, he had an infinite knowledge. He remembered what I heard from my Elter Zayda, the Tzemach Tzedek, from the Zayda, the Rebbe Maharash, and from my father, the Rebbe Rashab, and also Pisgamim in Inyane Avodah that he heard from the older Chassidim. At a different opportunity, the Frierdiker Rebbe related that on Yutes Kislev, Tov Reish Nun Ches fell out on Shabbos, and the Seudos were packed with spiritual wealth. My father, the Rebbe Rashab, spoke a long sicha how a deep isboinenus in a likus during davening causes a yisoirus in the midos. The Shabbos Seudah of Yutes Kislev finished many hours after Motzei Shabbos, and all the people who were in the Seudah were in a very uplifted mood from all the siches and askala and avodah and the stories that we heard from my father, except for one chassid, Reb Chanoch Hendel. He was broken, and he said, with tears in his eyes, the stories I heard, but the siches I didn't understand, and it burst out in a cry from the depth of his heart. 11 o'clock at night, Motzei Shabbos, I went to the shul, and I saw that Reb Chanoch Hendel was still in the middle of Ma'ariv. He actually started to daven with Armenian, but now he's still standing and davening, and he was holding before Shemoneh Esrei. He finished only after 12 o'clock, and he said to me afterwards, and he was very emotional and crying, he said, my only nechama is the fact shelo yosonu ki goyei ha'arotzos, and that I am amongst those who have a desire to be zoiche, to be koirim u'mishtachavim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Even though I don't have any da'as. We need to change. We need to go to the oil and to pour out the heart before the Rebbeim and daven that I should be zoiche, that the Eibusher should have rachmanis on me, and he should give me a shtickle Yiddish hearts. He should give me a piece of a Yiddish hearts. I'm not brave enough. I don't have the chutzpah to ask the Eibusher that he should give me a little bit of moichin, a little bit of brains. Because why should the Eibusher give me some moichin? Is it because of my yiras shamayim? Is it because of my good deeds? I don't have any of that. But a little bit of a Yiddish hearts, that any Yid deserves. But when I related that to my father, the Rebbe Rashab, so my father told me, such a heart is a result of saying Kapitelach Tehillim with a flam fire, with a Aaronskite and a bittel. The Chassid B'Shlomo Zalman Havlin related that there was a store owner in Lubavitch that every Monday and Thursday will close up his store in the middle of the day just to go to the shul to listen to the davening of Reb Hendel when he davens the Vehu Rachum on the Monday and Thursday Tachnon with tremendous b'chiyos. At a different opportunity, the Frierdiker Rebbe related, when the news came to Lubavitch that Reb Chanya Morozov was freed from having to serve in the army, so Reb Hendel walked around in a chutzner and he was singing Chanya is arois, meaning Chanya is out, Chanya is free. And then he entered my father's room, and he was very chashav in the eyes of my father. And he said that Chanya Morozov was freed, and he started to dance and sing in my father's room. I was there then too. And my father, the Rebbe Rashab, stood up from his chair. He put his holy hand on the shoulder of Reb Hendel, and he danced around with him 3 rounds. Afterwards, he told him, therefore, I'll tell you now, Chassidus. At a different opportunity, the Frierdiker Rebbe related Reb Chanoch Hendel had so much Avos Yisrael that he completely devoted himself to helping other Jews, while for himself, just a little bit was enough. When the Chassid of Shagafavish Zalmanov became sick, and he needed to drink fresh milk in order to heal, Reb Hendel used to wake up very early morning, and he used to walk by foot to a very far distance with a cup in order to go get some milk for Reb Shagafavish. Then he will go back home with the milk, and he will boil the milk, and he did it with such chayus and gishmak. But for himself, every day he just ate some bread and water. When there was a big fire in Lubavitch, Reb Hendel stood on the street, and he looked at the fire, and he screamed out with tears, Yiddish money is going up in flames. And he had so much tsar and ogmas nefesh from the fact that Jewish money is going up in flame, that he became sick, and that is the sickness that he passed away from. And the Frierdiker Rebbe, when the Frierdiker Rebbe related that, he ended up by saying, when they took away his son, when his son passed away, he accepted those Yisurim b'simcha, and he said, if that's what happened, that's probably what needs to happen. But when he saw that Yiddish geld, that wasn't his, was other Yidden's geld, is going up in flames, that's when he cried bitterly. That was his Havas Yisrael. In Hatamim, there is a section of Divrei Me'achsidim, and Reb Shagafavish Zalmanov writes over there about Reb Chanoch Hendel. And he writes like this: Reb Hendel loved all the Chassidim, and he was a loyal oihav to each one of them. He was happy in their simcha, and he was pained when they were in pain. When somebody from Anash came to Lubavitch to the Rebbe, he used to go to the inn where he stayed by to check up on him, and he used to greet him b'sefer panim yafos with simcha and his karvus, and with loving, friendly words. He would show him the proper way of life. I came to Lubavitch for the first time after Pesach Tov Reish Nun Hey, says Reb Shagafavish. One day I sat in the Cheder Sheni of the small Zal, and I was learning Gemara Le'iyun. Suddenly I heard a pleasant voice of a Niggun that awoke my heart. So I stopped my learning, and I went to the Beis Medrash to see who is singing and davening. So I saw a wonderful scene in the middle of the table that was between Mizrach and Ma'arav. Was sitting a man with a hadras panim, a shiny face, wrapped up with tefillin and talis, and he was davening with a gishmaki and niggun and saying each word of Az Yashir. His face was shining like somebody who found a treasure, and his eyes were tearing up non-stop. As the Heilige Zohar says, Chedva tkiya bilibai misitrada, upchiya misitrada, that happiness is in the heart from one side and crying from the other side. It was a wonderful scene. When Reb Hendel finished his davening, he walked over to me with a smiley face, and he gave me Shalom Aleichem, and he asked me for my name and where I'm from and why did I come to Lubavitch. So I answered that I'm a relative of the local Rav, and I came here to learn. So when he heard that, he asked me that I should come to his home to visit, and I should come to his Tanya Shir. And since then, he was mekarev me with tremendous ava, and he showed me the way how to become a kusher to the Rebbe Rashab. The Frierdiker Rebbe once related in Asecha that the avodas atfilah of Reb Hendel was very gishmak, with a lot of pchiyos. He would not daven loud. However, the people of the market who would pass by the window of the shul were able to hear him. Once, my uncle the Razah passed by the chutzner of the shul, and he heard Reb Hendel davening. So the Razah walked into the Cheder Sheni, and he sat down on a bench, and he listened to the davening of Reb Hendel. After a few moments, Reb Chaim Meir, the butcher, also walked in, washed his hands by the sink, and also sat down to listen to Reb Hendel's davening. A few moments later, another person walked in and sat in the room, all of them sitting and listening to the Gishmake davening of Reb Hendel. And then one of them turned to the other and he said, "Aye, that's what we call a davening." After they all left the shul, Chaim Meir, the butcher, said, such a davening, I would be willing to give a fat piece of meat for such a davening. Later on, when the Razah related all of that to his brother, the Rebbe Rashab, so the Rebbe Rashab told him, this is the inyan of Mezake Harabim. When these simple Jews daven or say Tehillim, and while they're davening and say Tehillim, they remember the davening of Reb Hendel, and they sigh and they say, such a davening, what a davening that was. That sigh of theirs is precious in the Eibishter's eyes more than the Avodah of the big Baalei Hasaga. At a different opportunity, the Frierdiker Rebbe related, once when I was 7 years old, I entered Reb Hendel's room, and I saw that he is learning Chumash with Rashi. He was by Parshas Lech Lecha in a pasuk, Al Tira Avram, Anoichi Magen Lach, and he was crying. His crying captured my heart. I didn't understand why he's crying. Because based on my understanding, then as a kid, he wasn't somebody who was shaykh to cry because of any Averos. He wasn't shaykh to Averos. So definitely not crying because of that. And I also knew the taich of the pasuk, and it didn't seem to me like this pasuk, the taich of this pasuk is something that should make somebody cry. So I walked over to him and I asked him, Reb Hendel, why are you crying? So Reb Hendel saw that I asked because I really care. So he got up on his feet and he said, I heard by myself from your Elter Zayda, the Tzemach Tzedek, that Sefer Bereshis is called Sefer Hayashar. And that is because the Elikus shines in it begilui, without any helam, just like the light of the sun that shines straight. And Reb Hendel continued, and when you're sitting in front of Sefer Hayashar, and the Elikus is shining it begilui, how can you not cry? When Tomchet Mimim was established, and Elul Tov Reish Nun Zayin, the Rebbe Rashab appointed Reb Hendel to be the mashpia, the head mashpia of the yeshiva, and they sent a group of 18 talented bachrim to Jambin to be under the influence of Reb Shmuel Greidam, which was the assistant to Reb Hendel. And the Fidik Rebbe writes about that period of time in a letter that Yedideinu, our friend, the most precious of men, that his memory will not be forgotten from us forever. He is the madrich, the guide, the chassid and the oived Reb Chanoch Hendel. He had a chush in hadracha. He never ignored chas v'shalom any of his talmidim. He will not give in on any detail. And anything that he saw that needs to be fixed, he will not give in to anybody. He will rebuke the talmid until he will put him on the derech ha'emes. Reb Hendel was a mashpia for 2.5 years, the head mashpia of Tomchet Mimim, until the day of his passing, Yutes Kislev Tov Reish Samach. And the Fidik Rebbe said that it is known that in the punishments that they give in Shemayim after 120, there are 2 types of punishments. There is a longer punishment and a shorter punishment. In the faster, shorter punishment, the pain is much greater, to an extent that even the Malachi Kabbalah can't look at the person who is getting those punishments. It's too much. Despite that, Reb Hendel asked that they should give him in Shemayim the faster punishment, so that way he will be done, he will be able to be in the chamber of the Alter Rebbe for his Hilula on Chavdala Tevis. When he passed away, the Rebbe Rashab said that he should write on his Matzeva, V'rabim heishiv me'avain. We'll end off with a description of the Fidik Rebbe of one of the nights of Chanukah, Tov Reish Nun, that my teacher, the Chassid Rashbatz, the Chassid Reb Hendel, and the Chassidim Reb Aaron and Reb Kusiel from Dokshitz, and the Chassid Reb Zalman gathered together, and they shared memories from the olden days, from when they were young alite, and they traveled to my Elter Zayda, the Tzemach Tzedek. Suddenly, the Chassid Reb Zalman stood up, and he started to sing the famous Niggun that my Elter Zayda used to sing by Musaf of Rosh Hashanah. So all the Chassidim present stood up from their places and they joined the singing. When they came to that famous Niggun, that my Elter Zayda the Tzemach Tzedek would say the words in Musaf, Ashrei yish lo yishkachecha, uven odom yisametz bach, they all went into a tremendous islahavus. Their faces were lit up and tears came down on their cheeks. And you were able to tell b'muchash that all of them were re-experiencing those moments, those helike, lichtike moments, and there was no doubt that each one of them felt at that moment that he's standing in front of the Rebbe and seeing and hearing the Rebbe davening.
Ay, 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 ay. La